everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley, and you guys, it has been so long since we have sat down and talked about makeup. I know, I am so sorry. As usual, I'd had every intention of getting back into the swing of things, and then life just kept on happening. In fact, the next thing that you'll see from me is a get ready with me talking about my first week of 2024, because it has been a roller coaster. If you follow me over on Instagram, which by the way, you definitely should, then you've already gotten a bit of a sneak peek of that madness. But today, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ignore the insane unholy mess that is my office behind me. I'm so sorry, it's on the agenda. And instead, we're gonna talk about the top 10 eyeshadow palettes that I tried out in the year of 2023. It was a lot of fun going through the palettes that I picked up last year and kind of reminiscing over them. But it was also super eye-opening in that there were quite a few that I didn't really remember much of. So I think I'm going to dedicate at least part of this year to revisiting those purchases. But for now, let's talk about my top 10 picks. So I do technically have 11 palettes here because one of them is going to get an honorable mention. That is going to be going to my Viseart palette. This is the Petite Matte's Cool. So I have always been a cool makeup kind of girly, and it took a lot of courage for me to start getting into warm tones. And once I finally did, I absolutely loved them. But I'm so thrilled that cool tones are coming back. Now, the reason that this is an honorable mention is because this is an all matte palette, and I am just not an all matte look kind of girl. So I have pulled this out so many times when I need something to go with a different palette or some shimmers. I need to be able to kind of add or blend or do some things. And this honestly has been absolutely invaluable. I love it so, so much. And I cannot imagine life without it at this point. Viseart shadows are, of course, absolutely gorgeous. I personally, of the ones that I've tried, I prefer their matte formula over their shimmers. So it was a no-brainer to pick that up and use it as one of my favorite companion palettes to many of the other things that you'll see here and in the rest of my stash. So without any additional rambling, let's go with what took the number 10 slot for me, and that is from Colourpop. This is the Fresh Greens palette, and this was everything that I wanted Sage the Day to be, and it wasn't. This was at Target. I feel like this was, I don't know, $10, $12, something like that. And the green shimmers in here are knockout beautiful. And then I love, especially these two here on the end, these really grungy tones. You know me, jewel tones and grunge tones are my favorite things ever. And this palette is absolutely wonderful. Colourpop has been very much hit and miss over the past few years when they went into just an absolute fever dream of releasing products every third day of the month. Or no, I'm sorry, every third day of the week. But this is fantastic quality, and I absolutely loved it, loved it, loved it. My favorite, probably sort of neutral but fun palette of the year goes to Dose of Colors. This is the collab that they did with Trevor, I think it's Barrett. But if I'm wrong, I'll make sure to put it up there. I've been following him on Instagram for years and years, and I absolutely love him. This is the palette that I took with me to my sister's wedding and used to get ready there. And it is absolutely beautiful. One of my very favorite palettes of all time is the Dose of Colors collab that they did with Katie and Desi. Like, those shimmers are on another level. These are really, really awesome. They're not quite to that caliber, but they are absolutely beautiful. In fact, my sort of three favorites are here in the center. So you've got this right here, this little sort of Tetris-y shape right here. Absolutely love it. So we have Pyrite is right here. Pretty sure this is Enigma, and then this one is Demeter, I want to say. Yes, got it right. The quality is, of course, absolutely phenomenal. Dose of Colors really does a great job. I feel bad that they sort of scaled back. They're no longer, at least that I know of, in different retailers. You can only get them on their own website, which is such a shame because their quality is so top-notch. So I absolutely loved that one. In the number 8 spot, we have Crown Brushes. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. The Muse palette. This I stocked on their website for so long because it was constantly sold out. And I'm not lying when I say the shipping to the United States was almost as much as the palette itself, but I have zero regrets. This palette is so stinking beautiful. Again, me and grungy tones. You've got grungy greens, but you also have some really neat kind of pastels. It is just such a fun palette. And again, the quality, I'm going to stop saying that the quality in all of these is top notch because obviously when it's in the top 10, it's going to perform really, really well. But this color story, it's just giving and giving. There are so many different things that you can do with this palette, and it's just so fun and inspirational, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Number 7, you knew it wasn't going to be a top 10 roundup if there wasn't at least one Blend Bunny palette in here. Blend Bunny is one of my all-time favorite indie brands ever. The quality is just so incredible. I know, I just said I was going to stop saying that. This is their Lure palette. This one took me by surprise. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did. I wore this constantly over the summer. Sorry for the ring light reflection. It is raining today. No surprises there. But these shades are not the ones that I typically am drawn to. They're like bright pastels. I know that doesn't really make any sense, but the tones are pastel-y, but they're so just like neon and saturated at the same time. I had an incredibly fun time playing with this palette, and I loved it, which again took me so much by surprise. I want her newest palette, the Machina palette. I'm trying not to buy so much stuff this year, but oof, I really want it. All right, number 6 is a newer palette to me, and that is the newest from Huda Beauty. This is the Pretty Grunge palette, and again, I am such a fan of cooler toned shadows, but the thing that I love about this palette right here is that it combines cool and warm tones in the same palette in a way that works really, really well. And the shimmer formula, again, is just so fun. She comes up with such interesting textures and color stories, and I have used this so much. I only picked it up at the most recent Sephora sale, so it is that November, but I haven't been able to put it down since I picked it up, whether it's to be something that is going to be the full look or just sort of dipping into some of the other shadows, similarly to how I use the Viseart palette to blend out and add to other things. This is just become an absolute staple for me, and I love it. I am a fan of the larger palettes from Huda Beauty, at least the most recent years, and this is just so lovely. I have recently fallen head over heels in love with Enle Cosmetics. I don't love their shipping times, not gonna lie about that part, but the formula of their eyeshadows and the interesting things that they do with their palettes. This is the Devour palette. I think this came in their, what's this? Their Valentine's Day mystery box? I don't think so. I feel like, no, I think this was around Halloween. I don't know. I'll figure it out and put it up on the screen. But this is so lovely. This is so lovely. I gravitate to these colors so much. And honestly, these 3 here at the end, these iridescent shimmers, shut up. They are so much fun. I really enjoy this palette, and that is why it is, what, number 5? Is that where we're at? Yes. Number 4 has been a bit controversial lately, and I didn't even realize it because I'm out of the loop. But for me, my number 4 palette of the year is the Flower Moon palette by Enle Rain. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is so gorgeous. Like, again, it has all of my major colors. Greens and purples with some reds and pinks in there, and I can't get enough of it. Again, I just gravitate back to this so much. And honestly, this shimmer formula is phenomenal. It has kind of an almost wet feel to it, which is so interesting, but it picks up on a brush, which I personally prefer. I've gotten better this year about using my fingers, but I lack the control with these big old sausage fingers of mine and these itty bitty tiny eyes that are hooded. It just ends up making a mess all the time. So I love it when you have a gorgeous, shimmery, glittery goodness of an eyeshadow that I can also pick up and apply with my brush. Just fantastic. I really love this. They've come out with a couple of palettes recently that I've definitely had my eye on and really, really want. But again, trying to be more spend conscious, and I highly recommend this palette. It's beautiful. Number 3 is, I think, my only non-indie, well, no, technically, I think these are all technically indie, although this one is more mainstream. This is Natasha Denona Yucka palette. I am a broken record. These are my colors, these grungy, grimy, bruisey sorts of shades. Give them to me all day long. I love them so much. Natasha Denona has come out with a couple of palettes this year, and this one was hands down my favorite. And it's one that, again, I pull for so often. I love that this has those beautiful, grungy, gross tones, but there are also some really bright, happy tones in there as well, which means that this is not a palette that's going to be securely rooted in just fall, because that's when you usually think of these sort of swampy tones. But I think that this makes it a beautiful spring palette as well for when things are kind of coming out of dormancy. And I've had so much fun playing with it, and I absolutely love it. My number 2 palette is one that I have not shown on my channel at all, because I bought it with the intention of, you know, featuring it and then stop making videos. But I can't put this down. This is so stunning. This is also from Enle Rain. This is their Cosmic Dreamer palette, and I cannot stop using it. I have used every single shade in this palette, and I go back to it time and time and time again. If I sit down to do my makeup and I have no idea what I want to put on my eyes, I always grab for this, because I come out with something interesting but still easy to put together. It's a palette that I don't have to think about a ton. I can just look at it, get inspired by it, put it on. The shades work so beautifully together. I've never had trouble with any of the shadows in it. It's never muddy or patchy. It's just so good. So good. And there are enough shades in here that honestly, you could kind of get away with it sort of being a little bit like a neutral palette. My definition of neutral and your definition of neutral may not be the same thing, but that is an eyeshadow palette that I would feel comfortable wearing to the office if I still went into an office. So love it. And then finally, my number 1 eyeshadow palette pick of 2023 is what I am wearing on my eyes. Of course, how could I not? And that is Shroud Cosmetics Moonfall palette. You guys, it's so good. This was one of the first palettes that I bought of the year, and I am still wholly obsessed with it. It is insane. The mattes are pigmented and blendable and beautiful. The shimmers are intense, but no fallout. I used 2 different shimmer shades on my eyes today. I used Devotion and Night Song. They're the 2 here on the end. So this one here is Devotion and this one here is Night Song. And they are glittery, shimmery brilliance. And I didn't have any fallout. I can use my brushes to apply them with. And even though all of these shadows are really intense, like there are no, honestly, there are almost no mid-tones. They're all pretty saturated. There are no light tones, but they blend out in a way that makes it look like there are more eyeshadows in this palette than simply the 9 you see here. They are so versatile. I've blended all of them onto my eyes and never gotten a muddy mess. It is stunning, and I don't hear enough people talking about Shroud Cosmetics. In fact, this is the only palette that I have from Shroud, and I love that they don't come out with a release every 2 weeks. I feel like the pace at which the makeup space has been accelerating is insane. Like, you cannot keep up with it, and I really love it when brands are secure enough within their business model to be like, nope, we're gonna put out what we feel good about, and we're gonna make sure that it is stand up and awesome, and not feel the need to, you know, try to keep pace. Because as much as I love so many eyeshadow brands or makeup brands in general, I feel like it's gotten to the point where even we as consumers feel like we're trying to keep up. I feel like a lot of the brands feel like they have to try to release things constantly in order to maintain visibility. And sometimes that's fine, and other times quality and design really lack. And yes, Colourpop, I am talking about you sometimes. And I really love it when you've got companies that are like, you know what, we're gonna do what we do, we're gonna do it well, and we're gonna trust in the market. And Shroud Cosmetics, I feel like, falls into that category so nicely, and I cannot wait to see what 2024 brings to not only them, but all of the companies here that we're talking about. And hopefully I can do some, again, more dedicated videos to not only these palettes, but some of the other palettes that I purchased last year, because they have not seen enough love. And I want to know, what were your favorite eyeshadow palettes that you picked up last year? Is there one that I have missed? Is there one that you disagree with? Because, you know, we love a good conversation down in the comments. And well, that is all that I have for you. Again, if this is your first time hanging out with me, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you will give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing before you leave. And if you are returning, thank you so much. The community that I have been able to build here on YouTube and Instagram means more to me than I can possibly ever express. The fact that y'all put up with me when I dip in and out as erratically as I have over the past year or two, to be honest, I appreciate and love you so, so much. I will quit rambling. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.